Morning, everyone. Morning, Patty.
Morning, Polly. How you doing?
I'm good. How are
Hey,
you?
it's good to have you back in the
Thank you.
studio.
It's the second webinar since my return from holidays.
Yeah, different having you here in the flesh though.
Yeah.
We were remote last week.
True, and we also changed our webinar setting as well, as you can see.
We used to be
Bit
over
of a-
there. And
Just there, yeah.
swivel around.
There's a bit of a merge there happening as well.
Bit of a better backdrop. The lighting's a bit nicer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
Mix
sure.
it up. Keep
But
it interesting. Yeah.
for sure, next time we move to a dev area,
Oh,
I reckon.
yeah, sounds good. Sounds good.
How are you doing today?
Good, really good. Yeah, I mean, I feel like all we do is talk about the weather on our webinars, but the weather today is really nice.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's great. But no,
Beautiful
I'm
morning.
good. We had a meeting last night with our team in Europe, which was really good catch up, and we got to see what's under the hood of what our design team's currently working on. So there was some exciting stuff in there
So
too,
exciting.
which is kind of relevant today. Obviously, we're talking about recent updates in Streamtime. Our most recent update, which came out the week before last.
Yeah.
And so we're going to be running you through that. If you haven't checked out any of that new functionality yet, we'll be going through it in a bit of depth.
Yep.
And showing you guys exactly what's been done, why we've done it, and how it's working, different ways you can kind of use those pieces of functionality, those features throughout the product, and what they're kind of working towards as well.
Yeah.
How are you though?
I'm amazing.
Yeah.
I went to yoga this morning, but just trying to ease back in to the reality, I guess, from the holidays.
Yeah, the blues over.
Blues over,
That's good.
unfortunately.
That's good.
But hey, we live in Sydney, so it's just blues already.
We got it pretty good. We got it pretty good.
That's it. Right. So let's talk about the release that we've done 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. What happened?
What did we do? If you using Streamtime and you haven't noticed any changes, this webinar is perfect for you. If you have, it's also perfect for you. So
they are relatively subtle changes as
yeah.
well. They're not screaming at you.
Yeah, so we released the ability for you to add teams into Streamtime and then filter that view in the to-do schedule by different teams. So by that, I mean adding team tags to your team members in Streamtime and then using that to filter your to-do schedule. We also added some phases and ability for you to add phases onto your current jobs and the new jobs, obviously, and add items under those phases, which is a pretty big one, I would say.
Totally.
Yeah, both of them are pretty big.
Yeah, massive. Simple but powerful, and used correctly can add a lot more detail as opposed to how you're using Streamtime, and a lot more power. You can get a lot more out of it.
Exactly, all with an idea to streamline your process as well. Whether you're a bigger team or a smaller team, those improvements will help you use Streamtime more effectively.
But there are a whole bunch of minor things as well, which we'll go through today. So when we release that update, we did a scream and shout about teams and phases, but there are quite a few other little things that you might have glazed over. We'll touch on those today, just so you're across everything. They can be really useful as well. Going into quite a bit of detail there. But before we get underway, probably best to do a little bit of housekeeping. What do you say, Paul?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. So we're going to ask you questions along the way as well.
Yep.
So please feel free to use that chat area in Demio to chat to us. If you have questions yourself, just feel free to send them through as you go. We will cover them as we go as well. I should have said it first. Feel free to introduce yourself,
Please
guys,
do.
and say hi. Hi.
So I'm waving over there because the message is over there.
Yeah, it's very far.
Sorry, yeah.
That's cool. Feel free to introduce yourself, what you do, where you come from. And as I said, don't be shy. Send questions through, any comments.
Yeah.
Maybe you figure it out as well. You figure out how you could be using teams and phases in Streamtime and you're doing it differently.
Yeah.
That's also awesome. We want to know what you're doing and maybe any suggestions about improvements or adding something different in Streamtime along those lines would be amazing and very useful for us.
And if you're unsure about how anything's working, just shout, let us know. There's no question too silly. As we said, this is all new functionality, so stuff you might not have seen before. Nice to see you here too, Toby. Thanks for tuning in.
Hey, Toby.
And Jeffrey.
Oh, Jeffrey. Hi, Jeffrey.
Awesome.
We've been chatting. Cool. Should we start? Buddy?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm going to get Streamtime open up.
Awesome.
I
So,
think this is. Let me just.
oh,
Um,
so I think the best thing to do is to go into to start with teams, I guess, and see how we can add those team tags into Streamtime.
yeah, sounds good. So let's talk about teams. What teams means, how it works, and what do they do? So, what is the idea behind teams, Polly?
So, which is so it's kind of self-explanatory, but in any businesses, small or big, you've got a different team member working for doing different things, I guess. So it can be a design team in Streamtime, can be a customer success team, can be a dev team, just design team I already said, management perhaps, client services. So any of your team members can be split into different teams.
Yeah.
Um, it's easy to tag those team members in Streamtime now using that little label,
Mm.
which is we do have a label in Streamtime, but this is probably more like a team tag, I
Yeah,
guess.
we're calling them team tags, and I
Yeah.
think that's just to differentiate them from labels to
Mm.
kind of just make it really clear that they're working in a different way to the way labels are working. And I mean, the principle is the same, but where you use these team tags is what's different. We'll see here that they're going to be really useful in the schedule to help us group that schedule by certain team members belonging to different teams based on those team tags. Now, obviously, we've got design, customer success here. You might have different departments in your business, but the nice thing about tags as well, beyond the fact or beyond them being just like a drop down department selection, which you might have experienced in other project management tools. We certainly had that in Classic. But tags are a bit more flexible in terms of what they can be, and you can have multiple tags as well, team tags on these team members. So they could even refer to a certain location, or if you have got people who are skilled in multiple disciplines, there's no reason you can't have them as part of a design team and a development team if the work's going to be overlapping there. So for example, let's say Michael, he might be part of our design team, but he also might be part of our development or product team as well. So I can actually include that extra tag there. And
maybe Nate is part of the Northern Hemisphere team.
Yeah, so let's say maybe EU for Europe.
Perfect.
And Andy, he's based in Sydney, or maybe I'll even just say AU. Danielle's AU too. Cool. Polly, you're down here. And as you guys can see, we're heavier down here than we are up north. But the idea here is being able to group these people together just to get a quick glance of our team members together in one spot.
Yeah, exactly. So when it comes to looking at the to-do schedule, we make it very easy to filter this view using those tags. As Patty said, it doesn't have to be just one tag per team member. So you can, perhaps you want to view a design team and the AU team at the same time.
Yeah.
So using filters here, so going to the filter view, you can choose your teams that we take from your profile and settings where you added those tags.
And these have come through just now because I've just added them in a few seconds ago. So I'm looking at my Australian designers. So we're combining those two labels together, and I'm going to see these people here.
Of course, you can actually do it added by individual as well.
Yeah.
So going to the filter view and add Andy perhaps because he's actually a managing director here in Streamtime. So you would like to see what he's up to, and Danielle and Sarah in the design team in Sydney.
Totally. You'll see when you hover over those as well, we'll see the people that belong to that team based on the fact that the tag's been added to them. So you can double check them here, and we can ensure that they're being added to this list here. This is just helping us kind of refine this and get a closer view as to these people in this particular team. Now, this is just in the to-do schedule, so it's kind of just in this area at the moment. But obviously, we've just released Teams. We'd be really interested to hear from you guys. What else you think you could do with Teams, or what would you want to do with Teams? Now we've introduced this idea. How would you find this useful? Obviously, if you're running in teams of 20 or more people, using Teams or working with Teams is going to be a crucial part of that workflow to help cut through a lot of the information that kind of sits in Streamtime to get to a person or a group of people at once. So it'd be really interesting to hear if anyone has any ideas.
Yeah, maybe around job planning, we want you to think of different areas and where do you think those teams will be important to
Yeah,
you too.
Toby's just made a great suggestion. So love to be able to add a team to a task, like when we add a team member.
Mhm.
So Toby, that's a great one.
Awesome.
I imagine that's when you're like planning out a job. You've got your items to be able to add a team to that item. For example, if it's a design phase, to add the design team, or
Yeah, awesome.
a group of people. So yeah, that's
Any
a great
other
example.
suggestions, just send them through. If you can't think of anything right now, doesn't matter. You can actually send us through Streamtime as
Hit us
well.
up later. Yeah.
Yeah, we're always happy to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, totally. And it'd be interesting to hear if you guys had already played with teams, if you've already touched on them, or if there's anything there that you didn't know about them, we can talk about too. So phases was something else that you mentioned, Polly.
Yeah, let's.
What do phases do?
What do phases
What
do?
do phases do? Why do we make phases?
So phases. Now with phases, you actually can group your items together,
Yeah.
which we didn't have that before. So and lots of our clients have been asking for this, and it just allows you to plan your job better
Yeah.
and have a clearer plan,
Mhm.
job plan, and obviously group those items under phase. Phase is not just helping you break down your job better, but we're also helping you with this extra insight. We calculate the time spent and the time planned for this phase as well. So you can actually have a look what's happening with the phase as a whole,
Gotcha.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, we summarize it at the top here. We can fold them up as well, so we can get a really condensed view of our job quickly and focus on the phase that we're in at the moment. If your jobs do work through a chronological progression and you are using phases to break that up,
Yep.
then grouping these up, folding them up can be really useful.
Yeah. So
Next to Discover here, we'll tell you how many items are sitting in that group, and
Awesome.
we'll give you the totals there, the used planned hours and the used planned dollars as well.
Exactly. So it's never too late to add a phase into your existing job as well. You don't have to create a new job to add a phase.
No, it's really easy.
It's very easy. So what Patty is doing, he actually hovering over between the two items,
Yeah.
and you could see there's a click to add a phase, and we can just type in a new phase in here.
I should have thought of a phase before I clicked.
Sorry, buddy.
That's all right.
Sure
Maybe I'll
do.
just select one from this list.
It's cool that
well,
we.
It's cool we've got the list, although I'm not sure any of these are really going to apply to this job. But let's just hit project management.
Sounds good.
But let's say maybe I've added in project management here and I might have put it in the wrong spot. So I'd rather work around these. Concept development and design have actually been accounted for elsewhere. So I might want to, shift these around. I might be able to drag these items to another phase, to their correct phase. I could even remove an item entirely from a phase by dragging it right to the top of the job. If we drag it above the first phase there, you'll see that I can actually drop it above, and now this item doesn't belong to a phase.
Yeah, so maybe this can be your job notes and job info.
Totally.
So it's not a design phase. Sorry, Patty, I'm messing it.
No, that's all right. I feel like this might have been used for more testing.
Yeah.
There anyway.
Yeah.
Which is. That's all right. We'll put job notes in there. We'll put this one in pause. We'll hit that at 0 hours. Oh no.
That's cool. So
damn. Okay, there we go.
Do phases appear on your quotes and invoices? I know the answer to this question, and I'm sure you do as well.
Yeah, they sure do.
We've sure do.
Introduced headers to carry 4 phases here. So they help us get more granular and get more of a structure in terms of our job plan internally, and we certainly carry that through to our quotes and invoices too. So generating a quote now with that job plan that's got some phases on it, you can see that we introduce them as headers, and they don't have a value against them. They're merely helping break up this quote. So they've got some stronger definition. They're slightly larger. But you can see that they're nicely grouping these items together. It's really nice and making all this information on a quote a bit more digestible. Of course, you can still group line items together underneath those phases.
And you can even add a new heading from the quote itself.
Yeah, you can do that down the bottom here. So we've given you the option to add new headings. So let's just say maybe this is studio fee. Maybe we have a breakdown of a few different fees that we charge onto our client, and we can just say, maybe it's account management is the fee, for example.
Yeah.
And we charge $1,500 for this, maybe.
So as it usually works from the quote and invoices, when you add a heading into your quote or invoice, it doesn't affect your job plan. This is all usual behavior in Streamtime.
Exactly. Yeah, that's it. So they come through here and they're really easy to use. It's really clear how they're working. And again, you can still edit them here too.
Sure. And once again, we would love to hear your feedback on the phases and see how you're using them as well. If you're using them different way, let us know. If there's something that you're unsure, let us know as well. And there's still no new questions. So I guess we are doing well.
We're answering everything before everyone can think of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good job. Yeah. So what are other improvements that we've made in Streamtime, Paddy?
So in the job page here, so this job burn-up chart, we've made some improvements here. We've given you some other options, some other ways to view the job within this chart. So currently we've got this job burn-up chart. We've been looking at used planned hours, looking at the planned state of hours in that white backdrop there. The light blue in front is showing us the burn up of used time against that planned state. That planned state, all those hours are evenly distributed based on the number of hours planned on the job. And you can see how they're staggered there. That's because the different items are being delivered at different points in time. So it's steeper at some points, indicating that we've, squashed more hours into a more condensed period of time. But generally the trajectory is pretty even. So yeah, that burn up is showing you, where you're at in terms of those hours. But with this new view, we've got the option to kind of view this as a dollar figure. For example, if you are working with fixed fees, this might be a lot more useful because the hourly rate is not necessarily directly corresponding to the hours that you've used, for example. So if you are operating on retainer or a fixed fee, then this might be more useful to just see where you're at with regards to where you should be, or at what point, how close are you to going over. It's a more visual way. And use cost first planned as well. This angle is much more based around understanding your profitability on the project, the margins, I suppose, in terms of the time used. So obviously we have margins and we can calculate profit on time and expenses. And with expenses, that can be really explicit, but this new graph essentially makes that a lot more visual. And you'll notice as well, when we change these options on the job burn-up chart at the top, we're actually swapping out the information that we're presenting at the top here too.
Exactly.
So this is the first time that we can now actually see used costs here on the top of the job page. Previously, we would be able to come into the breakdown of our time entries and see them listed here against the sell amount. But we're actually surfacing these at the top here, and we're able to compare these to the budget, which will be, what we're expecting to get delivered on this project. So that essentially is showing us the margin that we'll be making on this job. But it's just nice to know that now you've got that if you want to see it, and it all makes sense within the realm of the information that you're looking at.
For sure.
So if, for example, for some reason, you're looking at total cost here versus the budget, but you notice that normally you're used to looking at used sell or hours, you just need to come back and change this, and you'll see that we'll show you the total versus the budget there. So it's really easy to change.
And essentially all the improvements that we're making to Streamtime, they're all with an idea to improve something else in the future, to change something else in the future. So obviously, looking at this new view of the job burn-up graph and the whole view of your job plan, introducing phases, introducing teams. In the future, we introducing other things such as job timeline, perhaps. So that's where we can use your phases that we just introduce them into the job plan as well. So the job burn up will look a bit differently then as well.
Totally.
Everything we make, any changes we make in Streamtime, with an idea of improving the product in general.
Yeah, and for anyone who's not aware of the job timeline, if you've heard talk about it, if you've seen some snapshots of it in previous webinars, I think we've been pretty liberal with the graphics that we've been sharing around
we're
that.
pretty transparent.
But it's looking really good. It's looking pretty sharp, and essentially it's going to be a a timeline, a Gantt chart view of the job of the project sitting here on the job page itself. So it'll be a different view of these items essentially and phases across time. The idea, the hope for us is that that'll be shareable with the client too. That's something that people really want.
Yeah.
Lane's asking on an ETA for that. Lane, I can tell you that it's currently in development. I can't tell you when that one's going to drop, but it should be by the end of the year, I imagine, given that all goes to plan.
Yeah.
Yet, don't take that word, for truth, I think.
And that's why we are running those webinars, when we're getting the feedback from you guys on phases, perhaps, which is the first step of the job timeline.
Yeah.
We get feedback from you, we improve, and then we will start to work on the new release.
Yeah, absolutely. But you're right in terms of these pieces of work, setting up what's to come, which is really exciting.
Yep.
Great. Now let's touch on a couple of minor things that were introduced here, and they kind of, in a similar vein, building up towards some new functionality that we're going to be releasing soon as well, which is around invoicing.
Yep.
For those of you who aren't aware, we've been working on a new Invoicing Wizard, which is going to be really supportive and conducive for partial invoicing, percentage invoicing, installment invoicing. And so while we've been at it, we've been looking at invoicing and trying to think about how we could improve that across the product. And the place where that's really been felt is in the invoices list here.
Mm-hmm.
Some slight functionality that we've added is the introduction of a viewed status.
Yeah.
So what does that mean, Polly?
So you can see whether your invoice has been viewed or not by turning on this viewed column where Patty just did. It's in the bottom, viewed. You can obviously move it to the top as well if you don't have to. So you can customize this area of Streamtime too. So what happens is when you turn on the viewed column, you can see whether your invoice has been opened or not.
By the client.
So this allows you to report on the invoices that has been sent and understand whether you need to follow up on the client again. Perhaps you sent an invoice, they viewed it, but it's overdue. What's going on there? So you can then use that filter and report on what invoices has not been viewed, perhaps.
I want to look at my invoices that are awaiting payment but have not been viewed, particularly those that are actually overdue. So the status of these is going to be awaiting payment and has not been viewed. And I can see these ones here might actually warrant a follow-up with my client. I could actually turn on... I could turn on sent to make sure I know the person that I need to get in touch with there too.
What's going on, buddy? The dumper in
so I think, as you can see, this is just a test environment, but hopefully your invoices are showing a bit more.
Even alternatively, you can see who viewed those invoices and haven't paid yet. You can always check in and see maybe they viewed and forgot. Or it's coming, so you can always follow up on
Totally.
that.
This is always in the name of, or with the intention of, or with the hope that you guys will be getting paid. Trying to give you the tools you need to make sure that you're getting paid. Cool. Something else that we've introduced is the introduction field onto invoices.
Which is so exciting.
That wasn't a good example of an invoice.
So currently, you can enter introduction into your quotes, but not 2 weeks ago, not in the invoices. So our recent release, we introduced the introduction field on those invoices as well. So Patty just turned it on. Just like with your quotes, you can type, it's a free text field, you can type an introduction for your client. Cool. So does this introduction get copied across to accounting too?
I'm not sure. It does?
It does.
I think it does. It'll go through as a blank line item, similar to, or just like its own headline item.
Yeah.
Just throw me under the bus, Polly. We didn't talk about that one before. But yes, essentially that line item, that should just go through to your accounts package, similar to the title of the job, the invoice here, and any heading, any headers on the invoice as well. They'll just go through to your accounts package as a blank line item with no values attached. So that's it. And there's one more that addition we've made to invoices here that we can talk about, which is the addition of labels. So again, subtle but useful for some. If you do need to track those invoices, I was working with a client just last week, and we were talking about how we can use invoices to forecast revenue in Streamtime. In some instances, those forecasted revenues, obviously sitting just as drafts, were going to be much more ambiguous than others. And one way that they could keep track of that and ensure that they're not actually sending those invoices out to clients, making sure that they're checking them, was using labels. So if you guys are using invoices to forecast revenue, which is certainly a workflow that we'd endorse, just so you can keep an eye on cash flow. If you want to have a chat about how that can work, then just let us know. Invoices can be, or invoice labels can be another really good addition to that process to help make sure that you're on top of those.
Yeah. Previously, it was a bit of a workaround using job labels for this instance, but now it makes things much easier, much more clear using those invoice labels. So that's it on the new improvements, I guess. Let's spend some time and answer those questions.
I've got a few questions here, starting with one from Michelle. Polly, I've got this one for you. So when sending invoices to Xero, the headings require a cost code. How do I add that in? The phase headings.
The phase headings?
Yep.
Great question.
So the phase headings, Michelle, don't actually have cost codes assigned to them. Only the line items do. The reason for this is because the line items here are essentially the deliverables. They actually all have their own account codes attached. If you're working with headings, or if you're working with kind of grouped line items and you're interested in grouping those line items together and sending them to the same account code, what might be a better solution is actually just to merge those line items together on the job so that they're all sitting in like this, and then sending them to one revenue account here. If you're doing that, the truth is you probably won't even need headings, because we're going to merge that information together and the subtotals. So having the heading there might actually be redundant for you.
Thanks, buddy. Actually, I wasn't sure about that answer.
That's all right. Thank you so much. I mean, we're all learning today, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Vicky had a good one, which was, I'd really like to see multiple line items under a phase with costs against each line item, quotes and invoices.
Multiple line items on their face with costs again each line item.
Quotes and invoices.
I guess you could see that on the job cost report.
Yeah, I mean,
trying to think.
I'm not sure I understand the question entirely, Vicky. Maybe do you want to try and explain that one, be a bit clearer? Is it on the quotes and invoices that you're hoping to see those costs, or back on the job?
But I wonder, why would you need to see that on the quotes and invoices?
Yeah, I'm not too sure.
If you could explain it to us, it would be great. Thank you.
Lynn from Night and Day. Hey, Lynn, said that some of our clients only want the invoice as a PDF, but the system, if you send as a PDF, doesn't recognize this as being sent. So,
great question. Can I answer it?
Sure, yeah.
I love this question.
Oh,
Lynn, great question. So what you can do, you can download it as PDF and mark it as sent here. What it does, it actually marks the invoice as sent, so Streamtime thinks you actually send it from Streamtime. So that shows the right status of the invoice for your reporting purposes.
That'll say that it's awaiting payment now.
Exactly.
Great. So Michelle said it's more of an issue with the invoice not sending to Xero, as it's requested a cost code for the headings. It must be.
I know this.
Yeah.
It was. We know of this issue actually, Michelle. We are working on this right now.
Yeah, I think that's something else there, Michelle. So
it's different. Yeah.
Cool. And Vicky, sounds like you're looking to see those costs on the quotes and invoices. So if you have a list of collateral pieces, Vicky, maybe we need to jump on a call and talk that one through. I wonder if there are other ways that you might be able to do this, but also good to understand exactly what you're after. And we're out of time today, so it might be a bit tricky to get to. So how about we strum up a chat elsewhere and follow that one up?
Yeah.
But thanks everybody for tuning in, for all the
everyone.
questions. Did you have anything you want to add before we go?
No, just wanted to say have a great day, everyone.
Awesome. All right, thanks everyone again, and chat to you soon.